Now, many of you will know by now that Nio, not only is it selling their cars in China, but they are also selling their cars into 5 European countries, namely Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, which is something that is pretty exciting. So our Norway was the very first country where Nio started selling, of course, their cars in when it comes to Europe, or when they penetrate Europe. Norway was the first country they penetrated Europe with, so which is something that is pretty exciting. And that very same, of course, country, it is one of the countries that it is doing quite well as compared to the other countries in Europe, which is something that is pretty exciting. I mean, you will know that in March, total deliveries that came from Norway were over 50. I think the last day where I record, I think it was, or that I took a screenshot, was around the 26th of March, which Nio was already sitting at 51, which therefore, though I don't have the final figure for Norway, but by the 26th they were already over 50, which is something that, of course, though it's not that good, because Norway is usually a country where Nio usually sells over 100 in good times or in good months. So 50 was better, which is something that, of course, we would like to continue seeing it doing well there. Now, when you go to a country like Germany was also a country where Nio was doing pretty well in terms of sales there. I mean, Germany sold around 48, of course, cars, which was better than, of course, I think the 27 they sold in February, which that again, it was pretty good to see, of course, a slight recovery, though Germany also, it is a country where Nio usually sells pretty good numbers, and of course we are not seeing them doing that well. Now, when you go to a country like Netherlands sold 21 Nio cars in March. Of course, it was one car better than the sales they generated in February of 20, which is something that, again, it's still showing, of course, Nio sort of like not doing that well there. But it looks like it's just, when you look into Netherlands and look into the previous month, it's slightly closer to the average sales that they usually sell on a month to month. Now, Netherlands, ladies and gents, year to date, they've sold, of course, around 87 vehicles. And last year, you will know that Netherlands, for the full year, they sold 259. And if like in the first 3 months and a couple of 5 days, 4 days of April, they've sold like 87 cars. It means that this year we are surely going to see Netherlands selling more cars than what they did back in 2023, because we still got around 3 quarters to go. And Netherlands, when you compare to the kind of sales they've generated year to date comparing to those of last year, we can safely say that as the year continue unfolding, they are going to, of course, ending up surpassing the 259 sales they saw last year around the same time. Because what usually happen in this industry, as the year unfolds or as the months unfold, we usually see deliveries improving, because Q1, ladies and gents, we usually see low deliveries based on the fact that, of course, we are coming from a festive season or from December holidays, where, of course, the sales are usually on the moon or skyrocketing or very high, because of people are wanting to buy cars during the festive seasons as they're traveling to their holiday destination. And now Q1, after the holidays, the demand becomes poor, because people are not really that worried about buying new cars, and therefore the demand for new cars Q1 is usually low. So that it is for this reason I believe that we are going to see, of course, Netherlands surpassing the kind of sales they saw last year in 2023 of 259. Because if, let's say, they don't see more growth, they just sell every 3 months, they sell 80 cars, that in itself will result, of course, Netherlands seeing total Nio sales of over 300, which is something that is pretty exciting. So with no growth or at a constant growth, meaning that at the same growth we saw, of course, Netherlands growing in Q1, repeating the same growth in Q2, Q3 and Q4, we'll still see a record, which I don't think it will be like that. We could see Netherlands, of course, going over 500 in terms of sales. Now, one thing that, of course, I realize about Europe as a whole, or Europe in these 5 European countries in terms of sales, yeah, countries have been starting to recover, and I hope we start to see some good sales coming out of the 5 European countries where Nio is currently selling their cars, so that at least they contribute well into the month-to-month deliveries that Nio produce. Now, one of the things that I saw coming from Europe, ladies and gents, is that the top selling model of Nio, ladies and gents, in Europe is the Nio EL6. I mean, EL6 is what is called the ES6 in China. You'll know because of the Audi lawsuits, Nio had to quickly change the EL6, ES6, ES7 to become EL6, EL7 in Europe, just to not delay in terms of sales because of the Audi lawsuits that they filed against Nio. So EL6, which is the ES6 in China, it is the best-selling SUV model in, of course, Europe, with a total year-to-date sales of around 74, which is something that is pretty good. Now, the second best-selling, and oh, by the way, you will remember that this EL6, which is the EL6 in China, it's also the best selling model also in China. So this ES6, which is called the EL6 in Europe, it is doing also well, or it is the best selling car also in China. Now, the second best selling car, ladies and gents, in Europe is the ET5. ET5 has around year-to-date sales of 65, 66, which is something that is pretty good. But the difference now on the ET5 I think is the third best-selling car in China. ET5 Touring is the second best-selling car, which obviously here it appears that the ET5 Touring is not doing that well, because here in Europe, as it stands, the ET5 Touring comes number last. And oh, by the way, one thing that I picked up, or I realized, I did not know about this, I think I just discovered this today, is that apparently Europe or Nio is not selling the EC6 and the EC7. EC6, EC7 are not being sold in Europe, and I wonder why. Anyone with any information as to why those two vehicles are not being sold in Europe, please just comment below, because I was not aware of this. I thought Nio was selling all of their models in Europe, but I never picked up. I think it just slipped my mind. I thought they were selling everything, but I realized they're only selling 6 models, which excludes the EC6 and the EC7, and I don't know why, and I wonder. So yes, when I say the ET5 Touring, it come out, or year to date it's coming number last. You can see on the graph there that it is the one with year to date sales of roughly around 37, 38, which is something that, of course, it is to be noted. Now, some vehicles that are really doing well in Europe that are not doing that well in China in terms of sales is the ET7 and the EL7, which is the ES7 in China. These two vehicles in Europe, it appears that they are doing pretty good, because they are the one with ET7 comes in number 3rd, and the EL7 come as the 4th car that is generating most sales in Europe, which is something that is pretty amazing. And both these cars in, of course, China, they are not doing really well. The ET7, it is expected to be officially unveiled, the 2024 ET7, which we hope at least to see this one recovering the sales of the ET7, because ET7 sales, ladies and gents, have been pretty bad in China, which is something that was not good. I hope the new ET7 picks up the sales of the model. So in Europe, on the other hand, ET7, it's selling pretty good when you compare to the other models, because it is the 3rd best selling out of the 6 models that Nio is selling in Europe. So both of these vehicles have got 47, 48 sales year to date, which, like I said, we hope to see a full recovery, or a big recovery, as the year unfolds, because, like I said, the demand, it looks like things are easing. We saw this also from China. When you look into the March deliveries, it looks like things are stabilizing, and once again we're going to continue seeing growth overall from, of course, the automakers globally, not just Nio. So Nio, ladies and gents, Q2, I think it will be better, as I've been saying. we are going to see Q2, ladies and gents, Nio doing pretty good and beating the kind of sales they reported in Q2 of 2023, and those sales were just over 23,000. I think Q2, ladies and gents, we might get to see Nio reporting almost 100% increase year over year, which therefore means that I'm expecting Nio to not sell anything less than 40,000. I think the sales for Q2 can be somewhere between 40 and 50,000. That is my prediction, because we are seeing, of course, as the year unfolds, we are going to continue seeing some slight recovery in terms of sales coming from some of our favorite EV stocks like Nio, and it is for that reason that I believe Nio will do well and surpass or thrash the kind of sales they saw or witnessed in Q2 of 2023. Otherwise, Europe, ladies and gents, like I said, I also see an improvement or a growth in terms of sales there, and I hope the 2024 models can get shipped as soon as possible there, so that those consumers or customers or potential customers in Europe can also get their hands onto the latest Nio cars. We know the latest 2024 Nio cars, price wise, it did not change, it still remains the same, which in Europe should be also the case, where price wise the 2024 models remain the same, which I suppose it will make the people in Europe or consumers in Europe or potential Nio buyers in Europe to probably go and wanting to buy this Nio stock. One of the things that I like about Nio, what they are doing in Europe, is that in terms of battery swapping station deployment, they are also deploying there, and they are hoping to see, of course, them double infrastructure this year as to compare to last year. I think last year, by the end of last year, they had over 20 battery swapping stations, and this year they are also planning to also double the kind of battery swapping stations they would have probably in Europe. So I look forward to Nio sales growing in Europe, and with the sub brand coming, I hope it also boosts the sales of Europe, which is something that is pretty exciting. Otherwise, with all that, guys, I just thought I'd just give you this quick update. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit the like button, comment and subscribe, and once you subscribe, don't forget to hit or click that notification bell so that at least you get notified by YouTube every time I drop a new content. Otherwise, that's all from me, and before you buy Nio, do your own due diligence. I mean, Nio share price is trading at a 52-week low, which therefore requires you to do your own due diligence, so that at least you don't get to panic sell. And if should Nio continues dropping, you don't get to panic sell or regret buying Nio, but rather know the fundamentals and what Nio is doing right now as it prepares to the future. Some of us are down over 70% onto this stock, but we still remain long and strong onto this stock, and I believe that Nio, in the near future, we are going to see also the share price of this stock recovering, which will excite those that are taking this low trading price as opportunities to scope in more shares. Otherwise, that's all from me, and God bless you all.